Hello everyone, my name is Professor Hudson. For this week, we will be covering Module 2, Scientific Inquiry and Life's Properties. You are currently viewing a narrated version of the PowerPoint lecture for this module. Due to the size of this PowerPoint lecture, it will be broken down into 4 sections. The 4 sections to be covered in this narrated PowerPoint lecture are 1.1, what is life? 1.2, what is evolution? 1.3, how do scientists study life? And 1.4, what is science? This lecture corresponds to Chapter 1 of your textbook. Let us begin. What is life? Biology comes from the Greek words bio meaning life and logi meaning the study of. Organisms share common characteristics that, taken together, define life. Organisms acquire and use materials and energy, actively maintain organized complexity, perceive and respond to stimuli in order to maintain homeostasis, grow and develop, reproduce, have the capacity to evolve collectively. Now let's take a look at some of these properties in more detail. Organisms acquire material and use energy. All living organisms must have energy for maintaining homeostasis and biological complexity, as well as for growth, development, and reproduction. Autotrophs can obtain energy directly from the sun, while heterotrophs must consume other organisms for energy. Living things are highly organized. Internally, the organization is used to maintain homeostasis, which is defined as keeping internal conditions constant. Also, there is a hierarchy of biological organization within and beyond the organism. Within the aforementioned hierarchy of biological organization and complexity, the cell is considered the basic unit of life. The cell by itself can perform all of the properties associated with living organisms. In this figure, we have a picture of a water flea. 3 properties of life are illustrated in the picture of this water flea. The water flea uses its antenna and eyes to receive and respond to stimuli such as light, vibrations, and scents. The gut, mouth, and stomach are used for acquiring and processing nutrients. And in this picture, the water flea is carrying eggs, which are used for reproduction. Living things perceive and respond to stimuli in order to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis refers to keeping internal conditions constant. In this picture, a man is using water to cool off when hot. Temperature and blood pH are 2 examples of internal conditions that must be kept constant. Organisms grow and develop. Organisms reproduce. Bacteria reproduce by dividing in half through a process called binary fission. Plants reproduce by producing flowers and seeds. Animals use sex to produce offspring. In all 3 cases, the organisms that are produced will grow and develop into an adult version of the organism they came from. Growth and development involve increasing the number and/or size of cells. Also, in multicellular organisms, cells can specialize and take on different functions. Reproduction, growth, and development require a constant supply of energy and raw materials. Organisms have the capacity to evolve. Evolution will be discussed a little bit later in this presentation. However, I will mention now that DNA is a key component in evolution. In this image, you have a figure of a space-filling model of DNA. Let's take a moment and review. Please read the question and jot down the correct answer, as you will be expected to input this answer in a lecture quiz through Blackboard. Question 1. The idea that atoms combine to make molecules, molecules combine to make cells, and cells combine to make tissue illustrates which property of life? Living things are organized. Living things maintain homeostasis. Living things need energy. Choose the correct answer. Next question. Question 2. If you put a plant in your window, the stem will lean in the direction of the sun. This is an example of which characteristic of life? Living things are organized. Respond to stimuli. Living things grow and develop. Choose the correct answer. For both question 1 and question 2, make sure you write the answer down because you will need it later. Let's talk a little bit more about evolution. Before we talk about evolution, let's see an example. It is thought that humans and chimpanzees evolved from a common ancestor. Scientists believe this because 95% of the DNA in humans and chimpanzees is identical. So what is evolution? Evolution is the process by which modern organisms descended with modifications from pre-existing forms of life. Heritable changes in DNA via mutations are involved. Some inherited mutations help individuals survive and reproduce. Natural selection is the process by which organisms with certain traits survive and reproduce better than others in a given environment. Structures, physiological processes, or behaviors that help an organism survive in a particular environment are called adaptations. Adaptations aid in survival and reproduction. Adaptations that are good for one environment may be poor in another. Species that cannot adapt to environmental change become extinct. An example of this is the dinosaurs. Extinction is the complete elimination of a particular species. Dinosaurs flourished 100 million years ago, but they did not evolve fast enough to keep up with rapidly changing conditions. Dinosaurs eventually became extinct. In this image, you see a fossil of the Tyrannosaurus rex. Now let's review. Fill in the blank for question 3. Humans and chimpanzees share, is it 95%, 98%, or 96% of their DNA? Write down the correct answer. Question 4. All of the following are examples of adaptations except mice walking through a maze to get food, larger teeth in beavers for gnawing wood, different beak shapes for birds that eat seeds or insects, insects that resemble twigs, or flower coloration that attracts pollinators. Write down the correct answer. Next question. What is evolution? The idea that all organisms, with a few exceptions, are descended from pre-existing life forms. It is when diverse forms of life retain the same genetic makeup. Or is it an automatic and inevitable outcome of differences in DNA among members of a population, an inheritance of these differences by their offspring and natural selection? Write down the correct answer. This will conclude part 1 and part 2 of the narrated lecture on chapter 1. Please view the second half of this narrated PowerPoint lecture for sections 1.3 and 1.4 of chapter 1.